When did this happen? When did the sexes get all confused?
When Sex and the City first aired in 1998, the show was hailed as refreshingly candid and real in how it depicted love, sex, and being a woman in New York City.
A guy gets angry in a meeting, he's a pistol. A woman, she's emotional.
But looking back, was it really so progressive? While it discussed sex with an admirable frankness, many of the insights it made and conclusions it came to fell short. Too often it upheld regressive ideas about sexuality.
I don't think she's a lesbian. I think she just ran out of men.
And instead of breaking down barriers for everyone, it fostered problematic stereotypes around gender, race, and class.
I am paying a fortune to live in a neighborhood that's trendy by day and tranny by night.
And so, as much as there is to love about this show, we can't help but wonder, what did Sex and the City get wrong?
Wait a minute. Sister's gotta get ready.
Here are the toxic takeaways of Sex and the City. Toxic takeaway number 1. Women only talk about men. For a show that is ostensibly about female empowerment and successful women, Sex and the City spends a remarkable amount of its screen time revolving around men.
How does it happen that 4 such smart women have nothing to talk about but boyfriends?
In its essence, the show barely passes the Bechdel test, which requires that a TV show or a film contain any scenes of more than one woman having a conversation about something other than a man.
After all the hours I've spent listening to you people talk about your relationships,
You do that?
I make the courtesy call. Do you think you love him? Blah, blah, blah.
While of course there are plenty of examples of Carrie and her friends talking about other subjects, everything always seems to come back to relationships.
Miranda has a son.
Just what the world needs, another man.
When Charlotte and Carrie go to the opera together, it's not some glamorous girls' night out. Charlotte is using Carrie because she could not go with the man she wanted to take.
Besides, if you hadn't been available tonight, I would be here all alone, just some pathetic, dateless freak.
She even makes an angry call to the guy who was supposed to set them up from the lobby, completely ignoring Carrie, who likewise ditches Charlotte upon seeing Mr. Big in the crowd. How good can their friendship really be if they can't spend one night together, just the two of them, without men getting in the way?
Isn't the opera romantic?
Even more so with a man.
Well, I did expect to be taking Phil.
Toxic takeaway number 2, experiment sexually, but don't be a slut.
How could you forget someone you slept with?
Toto, I don't think we're in single digits anymore.
What set Sex and the City apart from its contemporaries was how honestly and extensively it talked about and depicted sex.
I'm a trisexual. I'll try anything once.
Maybe the biggest surprise, then, is just how conservative and prudish the show can be about sexuality.
If I walked in on you giving a job to a worldwide express guy,
You would never walk in on me because that is something I would never do.
Of the 4, it's Samantha who most embodies the sexual freedom and exploration the show is purportedly all about. Yet her friends mock, judge, and slut-shame her.
Sex is something special that's supposed to happen between 2 people who love each other.
or 2 people who love sex.
Oh my God, you're such a...
A what? What am I, Charlotte?
Privately, Carrie holds herself to a more old-fashioned standard of purity.
But how many men is too many men? Are we simply romantically challenged, or are we sluts?
The women besides Samantha also aren't truly open to any kinds of sex that aren't totally vanilla.
How did they get the message that the ass is now on the menu?
When they go to an S&M restaurant, all, aside from Samantha, are pretty squeamish about the whole idea of fetishes.
I wonder what your fetish is.
When Miranda does indulge in public sex, the validity of her relationship is immediately dismissed by her friends.
This is supposed to be a relationship, not outward bound. You've got to get this guy in a bedroom and find out what's really there.
And when Carrie equates her on-again, off-again relationship with Big to an S&M relationship, this comparison is supposed to illuminate how dysfunctional the relationship is with Mr. Big.
Why do I keep doing this to myself? I must be a masochist or something. That's when I first realized it. I was in an S&M relationship with Mr. Big.
Worst of all, this show, which revolves around Carrie Bradshaw writing a column about expanding your understanding of sex,
I'm sort of a sexual anthropologist.
only explores heteronormative relationships with any depth while wantonly propagating harmful myths about LGBTQ people, like toxic takeaway number 3. Bisexuality doesn't exist.
The weird thing is he was so open about it. You know, hi, I'm a bisexual, like, hi, I'm from Colorado or something.
In the episode Boy, Girl, when Carrie finds out the man she's dating is bisexual, the revelation effectively stops the relationship in its tracks.
What kind of question is that? Is that a problem?
Of course it's a problem.
Her ensuing conversation with her friends is full of damaging misconceptions about bisexuality.
I'm not even sure bisexuality exists. I think it's just a layover on the way to Gay Town.
This bi-erasure crops up again when Samantha starts dating a Brazilian artist, Maria, and despite her clear attraction to men, suddenly redefines herself as a lesbian.
What am I supposed to say? Hi, this is my lesbian lover, and P.S. I'm done with.
Her friends immediately question the relationship's authenticity.
Oh, please. She isn't having a relationship. She's just doing this to bug us.
From there, the show shallowly engages in cliches about lesbian relationships until Samantha gets bored.
Don't tell me you're in a sapphic slump.
All we ever do is lie around, take baths together, and talk about feelings.
Toxic takeaway number 4, trans people don't deserve respect. For the most part, the show ignores the transgender community, but when they are depicted, it's with ridicule and ignorance.
There they were, Samantha's friendly neighborhood pre-op transsexual hookers. Half man, half woman, totally annoying.
The portrayal of trans people as essentially freakish, literally creatures of the night, occupying some space between male and female, serves to other them.
Chicks with boobs on top, balls down below.
It's the other white meat.
At best, queer characters in the show are treated as lovable accessories.
It's midnight, he's gay, he has to start his night.
Stanford Blatch, who exists only in relation to Carrie, is the gay best friend, an all too common trope in which gay characters are there to serve the straight ones as a kind of lip service to the idea of representation. As journalist Philip Ellis says, when you're the gay best friend, you become an accessory, like the latest handbag. Vogue's Emma Spector writes that Carrie genuinely seems to view Stanford as less than, not deserving of the same consideration that her straight female friends warrant.
You guys want to have drinks with the Russian tomorrow night?
Sure. Oh, I'm in.
Me too.
Oh, sweetie, I'm sorry. It's just the girls this time.
If one gay best friend character is unfortunate, then 2 is downright careless. But in Anthony Marantino, Charlotte has her own Stanford on hand to offer her advice and bolster her confidence.
I have the best memories of my prom. I was the prom queen.
Of course you were, darling.
And then to top it off, the 2 gay best friends eventually marry each other in Sex and the City 2. It's the cliched, condescending hetero fantasy, says Salon's Thomas Rogers, the one in which you introduce the only 2 gay men you know, and magically, the sparks fly.
Her best gay friend is marrying my best gay friend.
The show similarly reduces gay women to limiting stereotypes when Charlotte befriends some power lesbians.
Power lesbians and their shoes are like Wall Street brokers and their cigars.
Toxic takeaway number 6. Everyone who matters is rich. Despite living in a city where nearly everyone feels constant financial pressure, the 4 main characters eat in expensive restaurants, shop with abandon, dress up for fancy parties, and seemingly never have to worry about money.
Later that week, I had a religious experience at Manolo Blahnik.
In the rare moments when financial stress is discussed, it's from an attitude of privilege and entitlement.
I'm homeless. I'll be a bag lady, a Fendi bag lady, but a bag lady. Last time I took the bus, it was like 75 cents. You know, for $3 more, you could take a cab.
Carrie is painfully unaware that there's another class of people who could hardly relate to her problem of having spent so much money on shoes that she can't afford to buy an apartment.
I spent $40,000 on shoes and I have no place to live? I will literally be the old woman who lived in her shoes.
Sex and the City's attitude toward money all seems in service of protecting its myth of New York.
New York City is really the 5th character.
So if we take that as gospel, then what kind of character is it? Most fundamentally, it's a character who's rich. In this show, wealth is inherently aspirational, sexy, and mysterious.
You see that guy? He's the next Donald Trump, except he's younger and much better looking.
New York needs to feel like it belongs to Carrie, Samantha, Miranda, and Charlotte. Every pair of shoes, or bag, or cocktail, or dinner they buy, they're buying another part of the city.
Oh, honey, it's not so much the style as what carrying it means.
It means you're around $4,000.
Exactly. When I'm tooling around town with that bag, I'll know I've made it.
On top of that, they're included in an elite New York bubble with open access to a magical inner circle.
Capote Duncan. He's supposedly some big shot in the publishing world. Do you know him?
Did I know him? He was one of the city's most notoriously ungettable bachelors.
And what of the people who don't belong to that secret elite?
You're talking about more than a difference in income. You're talking about a difference in background and education. This guy is working class.
When Miranda begins dating someone below her financial station, it's realistic that the show explores how this leads to tensions in Miranda's and Steve's relationship.
I've returned the suit. Frankly, I couldn't afford it.
Then why didn't you let me pay for it?
But the writing mainly sees it as Steve's problem.
Being in that store with you, I didn't feel good about myself.
He's painted as too insecure to accept Miranda's success.
There's always gonna be things out of my reach.
So I'm being punished for being successful.
When Samantha discovers the man she's dating has a servant, far from the show expressing any empathy for this woman, the plot quickly becomes about how inappropriately rude this employee is to Samantha.
Should I have my breakfast in the dining room or breakfast? I got no time to make a breakfast. Sam was very rude to me the other morning. She practically threw me out of bed.
This employee is, unsurprisingly, a person of color, which brings us to toxic takeaway number 7. Everyone who matters is white.
And your okra wasn't all that.
In Sex and the City's version of New York City, one of the most multicultural cities in the world, people of color are mostly absent or treated as set dressing. Most problematic is the number of people of color who are only shown in roles of servitude to the white characters.
Enjoy.
Isn't she the best? I'll tell you, I could not live without her.
The history of TV has taught us you can only get away with presenting a whitewashed New York City for so long. Shows like Friends and Girls eventually tried to counteract their whiteness through love interests played by people of color.
I'm one of the instructors, Paul Louis.
And the final season of Sex and the City likewise brought in Blair Underwood as Dr. Robert Leeds, a love interest for Miranda who was pretty much perfect. Kind, handsome, successful, and good with Miranda's baby. In the end, though, Robert is really just there to help Miranda realize she wants to get back with her far less impressive white boyfriend, Steve.
I don't get it. Miranda could have had Blair Underwood, but she settles for Steve?
Oh, but you do get it, sir.
Toxic takeaway number 8. It's okay to stereotype and fetishize people of color. Looking back, even Miranda's attraction to Robert was problematic. Miranda is drawn to the idea of an interracial relationship because she's obsessed with a TV show about one.
If there wasn't a Jules and Mimi marathon on BBC America this weekend, I'd have jumped out the window.
Hey, speaking of handsome black men, have you spotted any more of Dr. Nix?
But the show's worst instance of fetishization is Samantha's fling with successful, beautiful music industry executive Siobhan, a role Blair Underwood said he turned down.
It was all about the curiosity of what's a black man like, are the rumors true? And I said I'm not interested in being the black curiosity.
Siobhan becomes a window into the black community in New York, or rather, how white people view the black community in New York.
That is one fine-looking man. I'd like to get me some of that.
Don't talk like that.
Like what?
You know.
Oh, relax with a knee-jerk liberal reaction. That wasn't black talk.
The club he takes Samantha to plays hardcore heavy gangster rap and makes a point of doing a security check before entry, implying that there is an inherent criminality in the black community. Samantha also uses the relationship as a way to code switch, adopting stereotypical black vernacular for no apparent reason.
Holding on to those nasty cigarettes, well, that's just whack.
Please tell me she didn't just say whack.
Predictably, the show also leans into stereotypes about black men's penis size and hypersexuality.
Yes, he does have a big black.
It's big African American.
I hope you can sleep in a little.
Sleep?
Meanwhile, Siobhan's sister, Adina, is an embodiment of the angry black woman trope.
I don't care how many Jennifer Lopez-looking dresses you have hanging up in your closet.
But despite all the stereotyping in this episode, it's Samantha who is portrayed as the victim.
I have a problem with my only brother getting serious with a white woman.
Other episodes also give us reductive stereotypes of people of color. Maria is every inch the spicy Latina, while Jewish men, according to Jenny Singer, come in 2 varieties, revolting but endearing and pervert. Toxic takeaway number 9. Every woman needs a man.
Every Everyone needs a man.
As much as Sex and the City is a story about women's independence and female friendship, it's also a story about growing up. When we meet the characters in their early 30s, Samantha a little older, there's a feeling that their wildest days in the city may be behind them, and now they're looking ahead at what they really want out of life.
I can't believe you're getting married. Is this the beginning? Are you next?
Depressingly, by the end of the series, it seems what everyone really wants is a man. And in helping each woman obtain that lofty goal, the show completely erases a lot of what's come before.
Maybe we could be each other's soulmates. And then we could let men be just these great, nice guys to have fun with.
Take Big and Carrie's Hollywood ending in the Sex and the City movie, where Big builds Carrie a walk-in closet.
It's love at first sight.
Cynthia Nixon was reportedly devastated by the scene, saying, "To have this scene be a climax of the film, that your very wealthy husband built you a nice closet for your clothes, I thought, wow, that's not really what you love about the show, is it? 'Cause that's not what we were making it for." Christina Marfeis writes, Sex and the City wasn't about the romantic relationships. They were merely there to show the impermanence of romance and to juxtapose it against the staying power of female friendships.
No matter who broke your heart or how long it takes to heal, you'll never get through it without your friends.
Yet in the end, it's the relationships that are everyone's prize.
Carrie, you're the one.
Toxic takeaway number 10, love should be dramatic.
Real love. Consuming. Can't live without each other love.
The show's tentpole romance between Carrie and Mr. Big, a constant from the very first episode to the very last, is sustained by its uncertainty. The fact they seem to be at different places in their lives, to want different things, have different values, the fact that nothing is ever simple with Carrie and Big, is presented as what makes their relationship unique, special, and worth fighting for.
It took me a really long time to get here, but I'm here.
Carrie and Big's relationship thrives on drama. Big gets under her skin, frustrates and antagonizes her.
One minute he's all over me, and the next minute he's pushing me away, and I just cannot believe this is happening again.
But moments which should have been red flags and evidence that the relationship wasn't right for Carrie instead become another obstacle they could overcome.
What is it you have to say?
I made a mistake.
You.
I love you.
Carrie's other relationships are written off because they lack this drama.
I'm used to the hunt, and this is effortless. It's freaking me out.
Aiden is essentially perfect. He puts Carrie first, but compared to the peaks and troughs of Big, that isn't enough.
How could it feel so good when it's so bad?
Oh, honey, they design it that way.
Then there's the equally depressing moral of Miranda's central relationship. Toxic takeaway number 11, don't expect too much. Of the four women, Miranda is the most invested in her career.
A law firm softball game is like any other, except when a lawyer steals a base, he gets promoted.
Yet she ends up with Steve, a man who's so threatened by Miranda earning more than him, it moves him to anger.
Let's try $800 on the card. I'll write you a check for $1,000 and I'll give you the rest in cash.
Steve, forget it. It's too expensive.
Now, would you just let me buy the suit?
In the end, this epitome of the independent working woman must learn to put her family first as she moves out of her beloved Manhattan for Brooklyn.
You want all of us, you, me, Brady, Scout, Fatty, to really look at this place.
And embraces a more selfless side by caring for her husband's difficult mom.
What you did, that is love. You love.
It may be true that many people find happiness in living for others and lowering their expectations, but it's a depressing moral to send that the show's most independent woman must learn to be less independent and ask less out of her life.
You had a window for sex.
I'm sorry. I'm a lawyer. I get tired.
Yeah, well, I'm a bartender, and I get awfully tired of dealing with other people's neuroses.
Miranda had never felt less like a successful lawyer in her life.
Then, in the movie, after Steve cheats and blames Miranda...
You and I hadn't had sex in a really long time. It just happened once, and it's been killing me.
It's killing you.
Again, the story drives home the point that Miranda should compromise.
You won't even consider forgiving Steve for something he did 6 months ago.
Toxic takeaway number 12, but wanting fairy tale romance is stupid. Sex and the City may give Carrie a fairy tale ending, Big literally proposing at the end of the movie by placing a shoe on her foot, Cinderella style. But the show repeatedly mocks and abuses Charlotte for wanting precisely this kind of romance.
He could really be the one.
Charlotte, honey, you've only known him for 2 weeks. You can know his email address. You cannot know he's the one.
As we discussed in our Charlotte video, Charlotte can only find happiness after she gives up her most damaging misconceptions about what love looks like.
Harry's not who I expected to fall in love with, but I did.
Yet it's hypocritical of the show to suggest that Charlotte's values of romance and family are inherently inferior to the other women's emphasis on independence and self-determination, especially when it ends up giving its main heroine exactly the Hollywood ending that Charlotte dreamt of. Despite all these toxic takeaways, in the context of its times, Sex and the City was still incredibly edgy and had positive real-world consequences. Kaylee Dre writes, researchers found that in the 90s, only 42% of Americans believed premarital sex was not immoral. Post-SATC, though, that number jumped by a whopping 16%.
I drink coffee and have sex and buy pies and enjoy battery-operated devices.
Moreover, it was one of the first shows to show female friendship in a realistic way, both in its frank discussions around sex and in how it featured topics like miscarriages, abortion, infertility, and trying to have a career in a patriarchal society.
Turns out, Julian had an agenda as well, but it was cleverly hidden. From then on, once a month, when I went to Vogue, I thought it best to work exclusively with Enid.
So perhaps it's best to view Sex and the City as a kind of time capsule of the late 90s and 2000s, how it embodied prevalent attitudes of its time while significantly moving the dial. If 20 years later it still felt completely relevant, then something would definitely be wrong.
I love alcoholics. Hell, I hope to be one someday. That was a joke.
It's not funny. Yeah.